district awards based on our international service for our club, and they've done a phenomenal job of pulling together all the information and getting it submitted with the limitations on the format and the timeline and so on, and the lack of a place where we can really go to pull the information. They've done a great job of pulling it all together. So I wanted to thank you, Bob, for your efforts on that. Let's see here. Past President Colin Aldis has several Paul Harris Fellow presentations to make. Colin? You're muted, Colin.
And now not muted. Thank you. So I don't know if any of you can see this. This is the Paul Harris pin, and I need my magnifying glass on this. And it actually does say on here, Paul Harris Fellow, and I should investigate. There are some squiggles or maybe hieroglyphics. I'm not sure what they are, but I'll try to find out what they mean. I'm sure they have some meaning on here, unless a long-term member like LJ or someone knows what these squiggles mean. I'm sure they mean, maybe Bill Whitker knows. I'm sure they mean something. I have no idea what they mean. But today, Chris Colby has 1 stone, Colin Aldis has 2, and Allie Good has 4. And I will read out my my usual. So the Paul Harris Fellow recognizes and acknowledges individuals who contribute or who have contributions made in their name to $1,000 to the Rotary Foundation. Again, this is the $1 billion Rotary Foundation. Rotary established this recognition in 1957 to encourage and show appreciation for substantial contributions. Its name, of course, is for our founder, Paul Harris, who started Rotary International in 1905. Multiple Paul Harris recognition is given in subsequent $1,000 levels, so-called Paul Harris Fellow Plus, which we have seen a couple of those recipients today are plus. From its initial funding level of $26, and this is what I've liked, it has over $1 billion today. It is one of the largest and most prestigious international fellowship programs in the world. You should know when you make a tax-deductible donation to the foundation, you support disease prevention, provide clean water, support education, grow local economies, help mothers and their children, and promote peace. So congratulations to Colin, Chris, and Allie Good on their contributions to the foundation and for accepting the Paul Harris Fellow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Colin. I received those pins in the mail from Rotary International, and so I distributed them. I mailed one to myself, and as well as to Colin and to Allie. So congratulations to all of the Paul Harris Fellows. Keep up the good work. It's good work for a good cause. So. Next, our club's foundation president, Mark Benscotter, and board member Josh Noser have an important announcement to make regarding the foundation. So, Mark, I'm going to turn it over to you and Josh, and I don't know if you've orchestrated how you're going to do this, but have at it.
Yeah, thanks.
Yep.
So we have a couple pieces of news coming from your foundation. So first of all, the foundation is modifying its name slightly. The new name of the foundation will be the Rotary Club of Rochester Community Foundation. So we inserted the word community because we believe that the purpose of that foundation is to benefit our Rochester area, the people in our area, the people we work with, the people we interact with, and that is the focus of that foundation. So we added that word because we felt it was very significant. Building upon that name change, we are also going to be offering, for the first time, something special for our members, our active members in the club. And the board has voted that on each year, and this will be the inaugural year of it, that we are going to offer a grant opportunity to active club members. And the grant opportunity is for $5,000. So if you have a great idea that you'd like to put into motion, to benefit people in our community, we encourage you to submit an application. And Josh is going to be sending out the details on the timeline and what's included and so on. And basically what we'd like to do is take a few weeks here and give you a chance to pull together what your ideas are, send them in, submit them, and so we can award these funds. Part of what the foundation is attempting to do is we've reached a maturity with some of our funding that we want to offer this opportunity every year to the club members. And we feel that we've got enough funds allocated that we can sustain a $5,000 opportunity to all club members as far as we can see into the future. So we think that this is aligned with what the foundation is about. We believe our foundation is about giving back to the community. And we're hoping that in this time of COVID, that there may be a club member or two out there that could use some financial help to take a great idea that you have and put it into action. Josh, do you have any additive words?
Not necessarily. Nope. I think you did a good job explaining it. The email should go out in the next 15 minutes or so.
Okay, and your plan is to send that to all Rotarians, and you've got
All active members. Yep.
all active members, and your intent is to accept those. You'll have directions on where to send the application or ask for information or whatever.
Correct. The email has all the details you'd need.
Okay. All right. Well, that's an exciting announcement. Any questions or thoughts on this? Otherwise,
Chris, how much do we have in the foundation now?
well,
I know
to be honest with you, I don't have the exact number, but it's but with the different funds that we have, I believe we've agreed that we're somewhere in excess of 200,000 in total fund availability. So there's a significant amount of money, and it's just the stock market has done well for some of our more recent Vanguard account investments. And the other funds that are in the Rochester area Foundation are doing well, although they have a less growth rate because of the conservative nature of their funds. But it's still a good nest egg for us to work with, I think.
That's terrific, Chris.
Yep. So that's where we are. So thank you, Josh and Mark, for pulling this together, and we'll look forward to hearing more. I assume we'll probably get this in our moccasin flower in the next week or so here too, so we can.
Chris, a question.
Yes.
Did you say the foundation now has more than $200,000?
Well, as I mentioned, it's in the combination of the Vanguard account as well as the Rochester Area Foundation.
Right. As someone who was involved earlier in that, I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
It's grown significantly.
It has. And, it's something that if we just let it ride and don't put it to work in the community, it's kind of unfortunate. So I think it's definitely the gist. Even if I recall, Phil, you were responsible for getting the Vanguard account set up and working so that it was separate from the Rochester Area Foundation. And that was important work.
Just so that the board had the option of investing conservatively or in slightly less conservative ways. And the Vanguard funds, when we did the research, historically had done well and seemed to be safe, and it looks like that's panning out. I'm very pleased.
Yes. So thank you, Phil. I just see that Lori asked a question. Colin, are you planning on recording this? Are you recording this meeting? We always have that question, so I'm going to ask him to go ahead.
It shows on the screen upper left.
Yes, okay. Good, we got it. Thank you. incoming President Audrey Betcher has an update on filling our admin position. And as I look at the screen, I don't see that Audrey is on unless.
I am. I'm still logged into the Rotary Club's account because of interviews. So.
Okay. Do you have a update for us that you want to briefly give regarding the admin position?
Sure. I can just let everybody know that we are in the process of interviewing. We've actually had 2 rounds of interviews, and so now we're starting to do reference checks and take it to the next level. So I don't have any announcement yet, but I really want to thank the search committee who's has been really available while we've been doing the interview. So hopefully have announcements soon, but not yet.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. I know that they've been working hard. Group has been working hard to fill that position. So in addition to that, all that effort, Audrey and the visioning committee are working to look at ideas of realigning our club and trying to get the district, work with the district on some visioning seminars and so on. I don't know, Allie, perhaps have you got an update on where we are with that, if you don't mind? I didn't ask in advance, so this is off the cuff, but it's all yours.
I thank people who have responded to the request. We have 12 people participating in the visioning, which is over 10% of our membership. We tried to get a combination of seasoned members and new members and people who had various interests. We are going to be meeting, there's a survey that needs to be done by May 14th, tomorrow. So I'm hoping those who have committed to participate in the visioning will complete that. And then the district visioning team will be doing a Zoom with us on Monday, the 24th from 12:30 to 3. And again, on Wednesday, the 26th from 1 to 2:30. So stay tuned. There's a 93% of the 14 clubs that have done this virtual have said that they thought this really helped them clarify their goals. So I am encouraged that we have the option to do this project, and thank you, all of you who are going to be part of this, and we look forward to reporting back the outcomes of that session, those sessions.
So a reminder of the to-do parts of this, the survey that you're talking about that's due tomorrow went out to the entire club, correct?
I believe it only went to the people who are participating, but is Julie Brock on here? She's been the one that is taking that part of it.
Now, Julie said that she was triple booked today, so she wasn't on.
Audrey, do you know whether the whole club is getting this? I understood it was the people who are participating in the visioning sessions.
I guess I thought it was going broader than that, so.
Well,
I'll check my notes and put a note in the chat if I find something different.
okay, well, and so the bottom line is at least the people that agreed to be part of the visioning should have that survey and get it back by the 14th, by tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And then plan the 24th and the 26th for these sessions. Okay.
I think it went out to the whole club because I got it.
Oh, wonderful.
Okay, well, then good. If everybody can take a look at that, and the more that fill it out, the more we have some guidance as to what you're thinking and what the consensus is for all our members. I appreciate that.
Good.
Okay. I don't see the Jill.
Chris, can I add one thing?
Sure can.
This is Audrey, sorry. This is different than the survey, than past surveys. So this one went out from Julie, I believe, just in the last couple of days. So just so you know, that is a new survey, the one for the district. So I know we did some surveying on the third Thursday meetings. So this is different. So when you receive that or that email is real, please fill it out. It would really help us.
Okay, thank you. Again, Jill Cordes does not appear to be on, but I wanted to give an update for those of you who participated in the tree planting effort. Maybe since Bill, you were kind of involved in that, could you give us a quick update on on how that went?
Yeah, we had great participation on the May 1st planting. All 1,021 trees were planted. We got done. We started around 9 o'clock and got done about 5 minutes to 4. So it was a perfect timed event. It looks really, really gorgeous out there. Financially, I don't have all the details because Patricia McLeese is still trying to get some invoices included in there and stuff. But I think all the trees obviously were sold at the 21 memorial trees, and we had an external donation. So things look quite promising. And I didn't see the note, but we had some feedback from the forestry department, Jeff Haberman, and also from district, complimenting us on the fantastic job and the great partnership we have with the Park and Rec. So whether or not it continues next year, we'll see, but it had a phenomenal impression this year. So thanks everybody who participated, both monetarily as well as in physical presence.
Yes, so I agree with that. Thank you, Bill. It certainly was a great effort. We had the mayor who came out and did a proclamation for us, and District Governor Ed Merritt came down and did a little bit of a presentation, and then he and Bob Mueller hauled water for most of the day until their arms fell off. So I want to thank everybody for a good effort. It was a fun day and a good example of what we can do in community service in the community when we work together. This was a 3-club effort, remember, and Patricia McLeese did a great job. And the other unsung heroes were the Park and Rec department. They did a phenomenal job of staffing and kind of giving us guidance and teaching those of us who weren't real familiar with how to plant trees, how to do it, and so on. So it was a very nice effort, and thank you for those that participated and or participated with buying trees. The only other item that I have on the agenda is, well, the only question I have here is Vicki Allen on by chance? Don't see her on. So I had intended that Vicki would do the introduction of our program. So I'm going to do a brief introduction, and with the meeting, there was a nice blurb in our Moccasin Flower that kind of gave some of the background of this. But I'm more than happy to introduce Joan Berger Bachman. Joan is and her mother worked together to put together a book, and on the topic, if only you would ask, a guide to spending time with the elderly. So Joan, I'll throw that with you, and since I didn't give you a lot of resume, if you want to give us a little background on who you are and what you did before you wrote this book, that would be great. So it's all yours.
All right, thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I've had Zooms with a number of different groups, but this is definitely the largest, and so I have a feeling I'm not seeing everybody here, but I'm going to do my best to make this a participatory conversation. So as we get going, I would be happy if all of you would unmute and feel free to add your questions and your comments and feedback.
And I might add too, if you want to throw anything in the chat, I'll kind of monitor that. So if the question doesn't get asked, I can ask it at the end.
Good. As Chris said, well, first of all, I'm from Rochester. I spent the last 30 plus years. I was the ESL teacher for the public schools. And recently, my husband and I relocated to Mahtomedi, Minnesota. where I grew up. And so I'm back by a lot of my family, but we raised our family in Rochester, and I have some wonderful, wonderful connections with the city. So I'm so happy to see all of you. And there's a few familiar faces and names, and hello. I've got quite a few things I'd like to say, so I'm gonna get on with it. As Chris said, this was a book written by my 94-year-old mother and myself. She's continues to be in good health and continues to be writing, but it's just me you have here today. And before we start, I have a few questions I would like you to think about before I tell you my story. Can you think of a time when you were visiting a parent, a relative, or a friend, and after talking about the weather and what you had for lunch, you found yourself struggling to carry on a conversation? Have you ever had the experience of losing a loved one and later wishing you had asked them a particular question? I know for the past year, many of us have relied on the phone and Zoom as our primary mode of communication. Did you ever run out of things to talk about after you talked about COVID? And even if you are, and I know many of us are people for whom conversations come easily, are there days when you struggle with what to talk about? I'd like to tell you a story about my father-in-law, Bill. And in fact, I'm going to read it to you right from this little book. My father-in-law, Bill, died 5 years ago. He insisted on staying in his home until the end. Winters in Minnesota, as you know, are long, cold, and lonely, especially for someone who is afraid to venture out. In his last months, I felt compelled to drive the 100 miles to visit him from Rochester up to Roseville. We would sit in his kitchen at the table, and I would tell him about what the kids were up to, what I'd been doing. And his major topic of conversation were the rabbits that he saw out the windows of his kitchen in the backyard. And after an hour or so, I'd look at my watch and I'd give him a hug and I'd tell him, hang in there, I'll see you next time. And I wondered if those visits even really mattered. And during this time, I was sharing with my mom how difficult these visits with Bill were becoming. It seemed he had so little to talk about, and we ran out of stuff. And it was not long after that she gave me a notebook filled with questions. And she suggested I try asking Bill some of these questions to make our visits more enjoyable. And then she said, leave it on the counter. Maybe the grandchildren would appreciate asking some of the questions. So I thought, sure, why not? So I took the notebook over to Bill's house and meant to get started the next time we visited. And that was the last time I spoke with Bill. And now he is gone, and so many questions remain unanswered. So that was the impetus for the book. It was maybe a few months later, Mom and I were sitting in her kitchen and we said, there must be thousands of people. There are thousands of people just like Bill, who for all kinds of reasons are isolated and lonely. We can all appreciate that even more given the past year, and who feel that they have really nothing to talk about. And then you might wonder, well, where did all these questions come from that were in the notebook? Well, my mother was an active member of an organization with a AAUW, and she was in a group that was called Memories into Memoirs. And she had written many essays about many topics over the course of her life. And so many of the questions in the notebook she gave me were from there. And so this is what was the result of our conversation. And the name of this book is If Only You Would Ask. And the idea is we all have so much to share if only we ask the right questions. So here's how it works. And can you see, I realize this is probably pretty small, but the book is divided into 42 topics. So you can open it at the beginning, the middle, or the end. And each topic, here, I'll just give you an example. Let's see, dating. All right, this one's on dating. And I don't know if you can see, bold and in a box, there's a hook question. And the hook might be all you need to get your conversation started. In this case, the topic is dating. The hook is, what was the hardest part about dating? If we were in a room together, I'd have you turn to your neighbor and I'd give you a couple minutes to share. Well, what was the hardest part about dating? And we might be really surprised what we learned. So there's a hook. And then on the opposite page, if you need a little help to get the conversation flowing, there are some follow-up questions. At what age did you start dating? Where did you go on dates? What did you do? Was dating encouraged by your parents? How did you meet the people you dated? On a date, who should pay? How did you feel about blind dates? How has dating changed over the years? But maybe you don't want to talk about dating. So, you'll open it to another topic, and there are hooks and follow-ups and little triggers across the top. So I want to try this. And I know, as I said, that each of you is in your own space right now, but I'm going to open the book to topic number 2. Topic number 2, you can see there's a hook and follow-ups. Now the hook is, and I'm going to ask you this question and give you a couple of minutes to think. And then I would really appreciate it if you would identify yourself and share with the group. Now, this is a very non-stressful question. All right, here we go. How many brothers and sisters do you have? Which number child are you? You shouldn't have to think too hard about that one.
Do you want us to put our hands up?
It's, yeah, or you can just, you sure could. I don't think am I seeing everyone on the screen? Let's see, who just spoke?
They're 30, this Ashok.
Oh, hi, Ashok. I do know.
Hi,
Listen, I
Joe.
don't see you all. So if hands aren't going to work because I don't see that many, but if you could just identify yourself and answer the question.
Okay, I'm Ashok. I'm number 1 out of 4. And that's all you need.
And that's all I need. Okay, and if we were talking together, I'd probably say, what was it like being the oldest child? Or we might get into some kind of a conversation about birth order.
Then I'd have anticipatory performance anxiety.
Oh,
because it's not just 3 of us. I get it.
Somebody else?
This is Chris Colby.
John Woodruff.
Okay, John.
Go ahead, John.
Well, as my mom and dad always said, we have 2.5 dozen children in our family. Which was 2 girls and 6 boys. So I have 5 brothers and 2 sisters.
Wow.
And I'm number 2.
And you're number 2. All right. Thank you. Thank you. And each of you are going to have different experiences, but then the follow-ups are, how did you feel about growing up in a large family or a small family? In what ways did your parents treat older children differently than younger children. How did you feel about that, Ashok? Which sibling caused you the most grief? To which sibling were you closest? How much competitiveness existed between siblings? How did this affect future relationships? Which of your siblings got the most attention? As a child or as an adult? Was an adoption story part of your growing up years? Or finally, what impact did a special needs child have on your family? So, as you can imagine, the simple questions could lead into some very rich discussions if you took the time and had the opportunity to share. Let's just, for fun, we'll do one other one. Okay, this is topic number 6. My hook, and everybody think about this one. On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your high school years? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate your high school years?
9 or 10.
Who is speaking? Who is talking? Who wants, Allison, any
Rate
thoughts?
them a 5.
Who are we? Jim?
Yes.
You'd give it a 5. Any particular reason you're going to give it a?
I think I could have gotten more involved. Could have been a better student.
So it was kind of so-so, high school.
Some good things, some not so good things.
Allison?
I think I'd give it an 8. I was at John Marshall and we had a wonderful esprit. It was a class of about 600, so it was large. But the teachers were excellent and I always felt supported in the family and in my friendships and in the community. I'm leaving room for 2+, you know, there were always things that helped you grow because you had to deal with them.
Right.
I have, my experience was, I would give it maybe about a 7, 6, 5, 6 or 7. I grew up in Coon Rapids, went to high school in Coon Rapids, and we were, you know, it was a growing suburb, and we were the first graduating class. We were the first class after freshman year, 9th grade. So we went into 10th grade, and we were the only class. There weren't no upperclassmen ahead of us, and so that was kind of a unique experience. And looking back on it is unfortunate. We didn't have older, you know, examples and mentors, and I was in sports, and there were no senior athletes to be able to, you know, play on the hockey team. So us little guys were playing against the men, you know. So it was a challenge.
Thank you. Judy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I this is the way a statistician thinks. You have different measures, and so I mean people are obviously struggling with that. How do you give one number when you're really several measures? There's scholastically, there's the socially, there's the, I don't know, developmentally. All of these are things that are involved. So I would say, you know, 1 on this and 10 on another one, and how do you come up with one number?
No, that's true. That's true. That's true. Anybody else?
I would probably give my experience an 8 or a 9.
Who are we hearing from?
My name is Phil.
Sorry. Okay.
I went to the laboratory school of Indiana University, which was run as part of the public school system. We were not part of the university, but we lived in that part of town. The school was nursery school through high school. So some of the people I graduated from high school with, I've known since age 4. There were 96 in my class, and we've actually, many of us have stayed in communication. We had a virtual reunion about 6 months ago on Zoom, and there were 70 people.
Wow, wow.
And 6 or 8 of us get together about every 3 months and shoot the breeze.
That's wonderful. Oh, thank you.
That's like answering the hook and all the other questions you had for that check section, Joan.
I can't, who
Oh, this is Asher. I said Phil just answered not just the hook, but all the other questions on the other page.
Okay, I'm gonna tell you what they are. I was, you ready? First one, describe your personality as a teen. What was the hardest part about being a teenager? Did a certain teacher or mentor have an impact on your life? Explain. With whom did you hang out? How did you feel about your parents? I heard a what did you do to earn spending money? How did your participation in a club or on a team impact your high school years? Some of you mentioned that. Did a best friend in high school remain a lifelong friend? And Phil, you spoke to that. Did you ever get in trouble with the law? That could be interesting. Anyone want to?
That's up.
Huh?
There are a few hums in the audience.
Yeah, I think so. What is the best thing you remember about high school? So it's true that if you got specific, as Judy said, there could be a number to rate different parts of high school. But if there was just, your first response, was high school great or was high school suck? I mean, and then there's a lot of in between. Some people I know, look back at that time in their life as being the best time in their life. And other people, that's not the case, So anyway, lots of things to think about. And if you got going, I think we would have a lot to share, and maybe some things that would surprise you about the person with whom you're talking. When do you take time to talk about, on a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate high school? So that's, and I appreciate that you're thinking about it, and I know it's not so easy to share. And the idea is that all of these topics, the conversation that you're having with whomever you're having it, should not be stressful. It should not, it should be fun. It should be fun. And the idea is that after I wish I had this with Bill, because rather than looking at my clock and wondering if I can leave without being rude, all of a sudden, a couple hours have gone by and, oh my gosh, I gotta go. And then you keep this book, and look at some of these questions, because don't we agree that sometimes someone asks you something and maybe it's a couple of hours later that you think, oh, I could have said that. I wish I'd said that. We don't necessarily think about something immediately. So
something like this, I think they would trigger things.
Who do I hear?
Sounds like Merlin and Karen are talking down there. You got some thoughts on this?
That's the question.
Oh, we wondered what
if
you
I
were
were going to rate my high school, this is Karen Rickliffs. If I were going to rate my high school on a 1 to 10, I would say probably 9 or 10, because I loved high school. I participated in everything, got to have a lot of fascinating experiences, like Girls State and things like that. And it just seemed like it was a good preparation for the rest of my life. I've kept busy ever since.
Thank you.
And my guess is that the majority of people on a call like this, the kind of people that are Rotarians are probably people that didn't just stop growing when they were in high school. They actually continued to grow through, through years after high school and beyond. So it isn't necessarily that for a lot of people I know that I went to high school with that never even left the immediate area around the high school, and they just sort of always that's as far as they went, and their memories of high school are completely different than mine, as I don't remember some of the things that they think were important.
I also want to. This book is a little different than many of the books out there because I don't know if you're familiar. There are books with how to write an autobiography, and this is not about, certainly if you chose to do that, you could use the questions for something like that. But the focus of this book is that right now, this conversation, you're the most important person in my life right now. My cell phone is off. I am with you right now, and we are having this conversation, and I really am interested in what you have to share. And that you have something of value to share, even if your life doesn't seem so exciting right now. Wow. To trigger some of those memories that haven't been thought about for a long time can bring up some wonderful, wonderful experiences. I think of my mom would share a story of, she went to visit a great aunt in northern Minnesota. And she had never met her before, but she knew she had lived around the time when the, people walked to school and they marked the trees so they would find their way home. And she was a true pioneer. And so she had shared some of those experiences. And when Mom went to leave, she started to cry and she said, "No one in my whole life ever asked me any of those questions." And didn't know that there was value and import in her experience. So we never know. We never know. I just wanted to also tell you that, so if you're talking about high school, but that's not maybe so interesting. There are questions about, what did you do to support yourself and your family? Money matters. How much money does it take to have a good life? Shall we dance? How important is dancing in your life?
Used to be.
Who said that? Are you a pet person? I mean, some of us are pet people and others are not at all. And there are stories to go with it. Here, toward the end, describe a time when you did something you regretted. Now, you'd probably have to know the person and develop the level of trust before you'd ask that one. But anyway, before I say any more, this book, okay, this is my question. It was written primarily to enhance conversations with the elderly. But as time has gone on, can you think of any other scenarios where a book like this might be of help or value?
I was thinking about that as you were presenting this, and it seems to me that a lot of us would be well served to even have this conversation in some of these topics with our spouses, with our family, even brothers and sisters or others, because we grew up in the same family, but there were 15 years between myself and some of the younger kids in our family, and they had a whole different life after I left home than I did. So that would be one place for sure.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
Hey, Joan, this is Ashok.
Yes.
I think this is a beautiful idea for reconnecting anybody who wants relationships at the center of their life. I just had two questions. You've obviously, through Diversity Council and all your teaching roles, you've learned how to listen and pause so that there's non-judgmental, positive regard for the person you're talking with. How do we rebuild that skill so that there's psychologically safe place for the authentic conversation to be had? And then how do you get to that next question so it stays stress-free and not just escalate or de-escalate into something that may be more harmful because you've triggered some PTSD or something negative?
Yeah. Well, those are two huge questions, and I appreciate the, Ashok, you know, with the, first of all, I'm not a therapist, nor was my mom, and it was interesting as we were coming up with the questions, you know, she would just be awake for hours at night and these questions, and they got maybe more invasive or more, not intentionally, but, you know, probably could cause stress, as you say. And we said, you know, this is supposed to be fun. We're not psychoanalysts. We are here to listen. And you talk about listening and think about your own conversations, people you enjoy speaking to. Part of it is because they really do listen and they really want to know what you say. And it's not immediately about, well, yeah, but this is what I did. My best number was, you care about that person talking. So back to you, we don't have to have the answers, for sure. We don't have the answers, but we just have to listen and appreciate what we're hearing. And that in itself, for me, it's just so validating that someone really wants to hear what I have to share, and not to fix it. Not to fix it. I mean, that's not what this is. I have to keep coming back to that. This is hopefully cause for a lot of positive, joy-filled time. And if the person with whom you're speaking, if they're in need of something more than that, then this is probably not, right? This is not, and maybe then that would indicate something else. But I know I'm not, anyway. There is a little.
Joan?
Yes.
Yeah, I'd like to, we kind of logged on here a little bit late.
Yes, Merlin.
But this discussion for us is very timely in a somewhat different way than what you're talking about. This weekend, we're going to be going to Brainerd to visit Karen's brother. We don't know at this moment whether he'll even recognize who we are. And just the thought process that you have taken us through in the last few minutes is a motivator, I think, for us to sit down and come up with questions which may or may not be in your book, but it's stimulated by this conversation, that will give a lead in to trying to trigger some thoughts or memories that he may have that we can share.
Thank you, Merlin.
Very timely.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, well, good luck with that. And I hope, yeah.
Joan, I think we're bumping up against time, so.
Oh dear, okay. All right, well, I obviously.
Thank you very much for your presentation. It's definitely gives us all something to think about. I see in the chat that somebody asked, where is this book available? And
yes,
say it's available through the library. Where else can you find it?
You can get it, on Amazon. It costs $16.95.
Okay.
And if anyone ever had an interest, I know we've really tried, or I think, to get books like this into senior living places, into hospice situations, into, where families would just be given a copy when you're spending a lot of time with someone, that just to be aware that there is something like this. So I appreciate if you, well, first of all, I hope all of you can get yourselves a copy, and with your children, I mean, just as it's come up, this has worked for us for holiday gatherings. We've had great conversations for people who visit, for volunteers. So anyway, it kind of, the list goes on. But if you are interested, or also feel free to email me, to call me if you have questions. And if you have a group that you'd like me to talk to, I have the time and I have the desire. So thank you for listening in today. And I hope it is something you will use as you go forward.
Thank you very much, Joan. Very, very nice. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So as we close out our meeting today, I want to give thanks to all who joined in, and special thanks to Mark Drips for the 4-way test and Melanie Tashida for the words of inspiration. And a great thanks to the many board members and others that are working behind the scenes to restart and realign our club as we start to get back to normal. And certainly to Joan for joining us today and giving us a very interesting program. And I hope her and her mother enjoy the future. So as we adjourn, go and serve, and remember, Rotary opens opportunities in our community and in the world. So thank you all for joining us today, and enjoy what has become beautiful weather and the early spring. And we are adjourned. Thank you all.
Thank you.